I'm Brandon Sewell. I'm the owner of Seal Pro Painting and the host of the Off the Ladder podcast. We exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off of the ladder. I'm excited to have a guest today. It's Anthony Timmerman. He is the owner and founder of Florida Vehicle Wraps. Welcome to this episode, Anthony.
Thank you, Brendan. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be able to sit down and talk to you. A little about me. My name's Anthony. I own Florida Vehicle Wraps. We are local here in Brevard County. Mainly focus on commercial wraps, all the home services. A lot of focus on design as well as installation wraps, but as well as just the brand aspect.
Yeah, that's good. We met through our local BNI, and I've had a lot of my vehicles wrapped before you joined our chapter, and through you, I've learned so much more about what goes into actually making a good wrap. Like, you would think that, oh, it's just like it's on there and oh, that's good. But through listening to you speak and like your expertise and things like that, I've learned that there's more to it than just putting, the wrap on the vehicle. So I'm excited to jump into some of that today and talk about those things. As I've mentioned to you before, I did have, for those of you who are familiar with the home service community, I did have Dan Antonelli on here before and talked about branding and all that. Really great conversation. I believe this is just going to add to that value and be something really great. Maybe a little bit of a different perspective, I would think, maybe on branding and wraps and design. But I'm excited to hear what you have to share. I can just see from what you do that you put out really quality work. So I'm excited to jump into this. So yeah, let's talk about wraps. For those people who are maybe right now they have no wrap, maybe they have lettering, maybe they've done a wrap before but they weren't happy with it. Maybe they're looking at just rebranding. I'd love to hear from you and your expertise on what really makes a good brand. What things should you be thinking about, like design wise, for a wrap, like going down the road? How does color and layout and the information on the wrap really play into what you're going to do as far as a wrap goes?
Well, I think to answer that, let's take a step backwards.
Sure.
You mentioned Dan. Anyone in their right mind is taking inspiration from Dan to charge what they're doing. Taking inspiration from Fortitude, that's another great. But one of the things like we kind of focus on, there seems to be this disconnect between good designers and good installers. So we kind of, something clicked a couple years ago, and we kind of made sure we're design first. So we're kind of bridging that gap where not everybody can afford a designer specifically like picture. The cheaper installers aren't going to put too much thought into it. That's nothing against that. Being great at install is a skill in itself. But we kind of focus on bridging that, being able to do the being able to make designs that compete with the big designers, but also be accessible to everyone. And one of the things that separates us is we're not afraid to tell someone, hey, that's not a great idea. Trust us because we know it works. We don't have to know you specifically, but we know it works. We know what the trends are, what customers are going to react to, what your possible clients are going to react to, what's going to get that recognition, make you stand out.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that you talked about bridging that gap between like design and install because, one of the things that I like, just to be honest with you, I found out about Dan a while, like years ago, probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And, I did have him give me a quote to do a rebrand. And I was like, holy crap, that's expensive. And then not only that, I was thinking like this is just for the design. This is just for the brand. This isn't including like what it's going to cost me to get prints done, whether that's, shirts, print media, wraps, whatever, right? All of that is still going to cost me a lot of money. And then the money to like rebrand a website, rebrand social media, rebrand, all of our online listings. Like it's a lot. I was like, holy smokes, that's a lot of money. So, um, it's cool that you're taking this approach of like, hey, we're really great installers and let's bridge the gap by also doing really great design and putting that first. I think that's actually super smart. So, um, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's one of those things where, as long as we all know our place, like I'm doing the same thing as these bigger design firms, but we do it with the mentality we are going to install this, and that's where it kind of differentiates, where we can offer great designs that compete with those companies and still be able to offer that installation at the same time. And not everyone can spend the tens of thousands and then still have to spend tens of thousands more.
Yeah.
And I think everyone, as long as like we're all staying in our lane, we coexist for a reason. There's a market for everyone. There's a market for the guys that just need to get something done, want to do their own idea. There are shops for that. We're kind of bridging that middle ground where, hey, you understand the benefits of great design, but there's still something that's out of reach for you. Let's get you going in the right direction. We can build something that can be the lifetime.
Yeah. I'm curious to see like how important do you think like let's just cover a couple things here. Like the color that you choose, like how important is that? And then I would say too, like the information on a wrap. And I'm just going to share my perspective as a consumer. Like recently, I've just been testing this. Driving down 95, I've been testing out like can I tell, let's say like I see a van coming up 95 from a mile away and I see them approaching. Before I ever see the van, can I tell what the brand is before I ever see like the brand on the side? And there's been one that's actually blown my mind recently, and that's Anna's. Like, I've seen their vans multiple times in the past couple weeks, and every time I've been right. When I see it and I see the front of it and I see the color, I'm like, Anna's. And then it gets next to me passing by, and I'm like, yep, Anna's. And so I just love like another one that I think is really good is like ADT. Like I can see an ADT van and that color, that blue, it's like Amazon. They have a very specific gray, UPS, the brown. And so it's like you think of these colors and how these brands have almost like dominated that color and how like now it's associated with that brand and you know what it is before it ever like gets until you ever see like the words of like what they do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what is your opinion on that? What do you think about how the colors and like how important is that in branding and wrapping your vehicles?
Well, there's kind of two parts to that, in my opinion. So one, Anna's all their vehicles look the same. So they're building that consistent branding. So that way, when you see that teal, you automatically think of it. And that's kind of like what we should be doing on our design side in vehicle wraps. You should see it. The second part of that is there is a psychology behind how people feel about different colors, but also doing the research, seeing what's out there, seeing what they're doing. A lot of companies, they really like to go towards the red, white, blue. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of companies that use it. So we try and like not only just do the research, see kind of like who you're competing against, who's using what colors. We want to use something, if we can, that stands out your industry, but also color combos that you wouldn't really think of. Just so
Yeah.
not necessarily just choosing colors because nobody else has them. They have to make sense for your life. And then again, like the example you used, they are very consistent with everything they do. That's part of the reason why you see that feel coming.
Yeah. That's something that like in my 5-year plan for my business, it would be for us to get to a point, and if you're listening to this, I think this is a really like good note or goal to take down for your business, is get to the point where there's consistency in your fleet. And what I mean by that is like decide, okay, every tech's van or team, their van or truck is going to be this, right? There's no like, let's say one crew drives a Ram Trademaster, and then another crew drives a Ford Transit. Have it consistent across the board. Pick out which vehicle you're going to stand by and buy for each time you start a crew, and make that consistent. So, and the way that I think about this is it does a lot of things. One, it makes it easier for you to know what your cost, or like forecast, like what it's going to cost to start another crew, because you already know what that vehicle is, what it costs to wrap it, what tools can fit on it or in it. You know how to load it out. And so it makes it more predictable. Whereas if you're just like, hey, I'm going to get an F-150 here and a van here and an E250 and a transit and a, well, then it just becomes harder to predict what is the functionality of that vehicle for the crew that's going to be driving it. What is the cost to wrap a truck versus a van? What's a cost to how much? I think you guys charge right by like how many square feet you're gonna of wrap you're gonna put on, right?
No, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. It's worth it model. We actually package price things. So a truck is a truck is a truck. Generally, the amount of square feet is going to be minimal. So why are we complicating things? We want to make it easier
Mm-hmm.
for you. A van is a van. It's going to cost the same, whether it's a Transit or a Mercedes Sprinter or ProMaster. It's going to cost the same. I see your point, like from a practical operational perspective. You can build everything out exactly the same. You already know what the inside is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. And we kind of ran into this, well, not we, home services did. We were doing so many things. It was probably every week we had at least one shop. And then Nissan next year, more interest. Now everyone's kind of switching up, seeing what they want to go to. Some people want the ProMasters, some want the Transit. So you always got to keep that in mind also.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, the standard like E-Series vans haven't changed in 100 years. Same thing with the Chevy version of the old style.
Yeah.
Seem like they'll always be around. Even Chevy has that new big box van. It's called. It's basically a big square.
Yeah. So my question for you would be, is there a difference in the cost? Like, so like this is something just for me. I want to eliminate this in my business. I have E250s. I have a Ram ProMaster, like a basically like a the workhorse caravan, Dodge Caravan. And then I have Nissan Frontier that has a cap on it. Um, but I would just assume that there's going to be a price variation between, like, let's say the Frontier, the ProMaster, or yeah, I think yeah, Trademaster, the Dodge Caravan style van, and the E250. Or would the E250 and the Trademaster be the same, and then the Frontier be the one that's different?
Yeah, ProMaster and E250, we're going to charge the same. Like I said, on
Okay.
our end, it's minimal differences. Take a loss we'll take a little less profit on some of them. We'll make a little bit more.
Okay, yeah.
But our goal from an installation standpoint, from a rack shop standpoint, is make it as simple as possible. And we kind of categorize it: large van, small van, SUV, truck, truck, small truck. So it's just very simple. Like you already know, your van is going to cost this. But I mean, obviously, economic things, price lines, stuff like that will change over time. Generally, all you if you're going with large vans, they're all going to be the same.
Yeah, got it. So, I mean, kind of to take this back to what we were talking about before, like color matters, obviously, right? It's not if you're going to design your brand and you're going to design a wrap, be thoughtful about your colors. Like you said, like you want to try to stand out. You brought up the red, white, and blue. The way that I think about this is I actually couldn't even tell you what like all the different companies are around here in Brevard County, but there are multiple like even HVAC companies where they all have this really similar theme of red, white, and blue, and like the flag and like an eagle or it's like
Yeah,
I couldn't even tell you like which brand is which, and I think that just takes away from your brand's equity and the power of your brand and the stickiness of it um, when you don't have color in mind. Like I just think I think it's important. I think it's something that you should think about. And then, as you mentioned, like there's that psychology that goes into it and how certain colors make people feel. So I do. I think that's important.
there's a
Um,
reason a lot of fast food companies use red and yellow. Like if you
mhm,
think about it, Burger King, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A,
right.
Wendy's, they're all some sort of combination or one of those colors. And I have my own opinions on how much that really affects what we're doing. More or less, I'm going to lean into the bright colors, less than just thinking of like, hey, cool colors are calming. Reds, orange, yellows, they're going to be more, they're going to raise more emotion. Yeah. So I kind of put less thought into that concept as much as
Yeah.
like, what is everyone else doing? What can we do to make you?
Yeah. And I think the other thing that plays into that is um really when I think I went to school for marketing for a short time, and I even have like a background in studying art and design. And like one of the things with that too is just like legibility, right? And like how those colors like pop against a landscape, right? Like red, yellow, and blue. um those colors are going to pop against a lot of different like um things that you might see driving down the road. So I think that's another side of it, but I think just keeping that in mind, even with like however you do your brand, how you choose to like put certain colors over other colors is going to determine whether that is legible at distance or at speed. If you're driving down the highway and you have like light blue over another blue, like that's going to be really hard to see. Or if you have if you're using too much of a chromatic scale on your coloring, or if you're having colors that are too similar to each other, it's going to make it harder to see it, right? Um, Light colors on light backgrounds, like light text, I'm sorry, light text on a light background. It's going to pop the same way that if you have light text over a dark background. And so I think that just like keeping those things in mind and thinking like, okay, at the end of the day, I want to make sure that if somebody sees my vehicle driving down Highway 95 at 75 to 80 miles per hour, they're going to be able to read what is on my wrap. Because what's the point of spending, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a wrap if people can't even read what it says? So, could you maybe talk about that from like your expertise on like how people should be thinking about how they like use colors to make like their text or like their rap pop.
I was kind of thinking like, so as we were speaking about that, a couple of things that people tend to do, which I think is the wrong answer. It kind of goes back to like that brand recognition. They'll start changing the logo to fit the colors that they want to use. So if you have like a light color logo, that's what you're using consistently. Don't change the text color just to make a wrap work. You kind of have to get creative there. What you'll see a lot is like, oh, we'll just have drop shot. We'll have, sometimes that works, but really like putting that extra thought into how do we make this work, redesign this to work. Because if we're working with a company that already has a logo, we don't want to change that. If they want to keep that, okay, we need to work.
Mm-hmm.
Make changes because again, go back to the end. Everything is consistent. That's why you recognize it. It's just reinforcing that. Start changing it, see it a lot. We just did a rebrand for someone, redid the logo. They had like 4 different logos going on. And the previous wrap shop that they just changed it completely. Those are the types of things that you shouldn't do. Then you just gotta get creative with the wrap itself. From our perspective, we kind of have to take ideas and kind of steer people in the right direction,
Mm-hmm.
and then still kind of work within those confines. So we get to get a lot of creative solutions. We get to do something from scratch, and we can build off of it. We can make sure we're building these colors. We can make sure we're not putting white text on white, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, would you say that there's like some rules of thumb of like things that you shouldn't do or things that you guys like standardly see and say like, hey, this isn't gonna work? Like I was just thinking to myself, would you say like pastel colors are like a bad idea? I'm just trying to help the whoever's listening to this understand like maybe there's some standard rules that you guys have or try to follow on like color selection, or if someone were to come to you and say like, hey, I want to do this light yellow text, would you guys like advise them not to, or I'm just trying to see if that would help the audience by having some things to like avoid out the gate.
Not necessarily. I'm I'm never a fan of like hard rules when it comes to design. Because then you start
Okay.
doing the same thing over and over. Set the only rules we set for ourselves, we call it our brand first method. You need to be able to see what they do, how to contact them. Those are the 3 important things that we kind of focus on. And even the last one, depending on who you talk to, some people say we still like to put it on there. That's our prerogative, that's our opinion. But with that said, I try not to set hard rules, especially when it comes to colors. When we start doing research, kind of going into the industry itself, what are the people doing? I don't want to have a rule that says, well, we can't use pink. And obviously, this goes with what the client wants. If they don't want
Hmm.
pink, then obviously we're going to find different colors. So everything is really subjective to the design, what we're looking to achieve, kind of what we think is going to stand. We've done brands with pastel colors, and light. We've done stuff. We did a company. The company name was Mars. The owner's last name. So obviously we're going to play on that. So we use deep red. What you have
Yeah.
good designer behind it. I don't see a reason to obey to based off of the only
Yeah.
thing we want to kind of consider the big picture before we start.
Yeah. And I don't know if I necessarily mean like eliminating certain colors. I guess I just mean like how you would use those colors in the design. Like one thing I thought of is I was encouraged one time in design to determine whether something was going to be legible, um, or like easy to read. Turn the design into grayscale.
Yes.
Um, and like if you turn it into grayscale, then you'll know like, okay, is there enough contrast between these colors and how I've decided to use them in the design to be able to like make sure I can read it, if that makes sense. So I guess I'm not necessarily discouraging like um specific colors. I'm just saying I think there has to be thought that goes into again like you know picking colors and where they go in the design. And I don't know how to like make that
No, I
make
mean,
sense to the listener,
and it
but
all point there. For me specifically, if I'm designing something, I'm gonna try things that I don't think work. I gotta, I have to actually get in and see things. I can't just picture it. I can get a picture and I go, okay, I think that's a good idea. And I'll be wrong 3 times before I show you.
you're right, right.
But I like to try new things. I like to not just, we are aware of trends, but we're trying not to just do the trend. We're trying to push it a little
Yeah,
further. Um,
yeah.
because eventually the trend becomes normal and it
And
stops.
then everything looks the same. Like I was even thinking about this. Look, like Dan, if you listen to this, love you, love your brand and everything. But I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, like it's almost to the point where it all looks the same, if that makes sense. Right. So then it's like, does that take away from the originality and the brand because it becomes just like, oh, that's another kick charge brand, or like this, you kind of just like blend in with every other brand out there that's designed the same exact way. And so I think about that too. I'm like, okay, let's try to think of, okay, yeah, maybe follow some of those trends and follow what's working, but don't be afraid, like you said, to try something new that's completely different that nobody else is doing, because I think that's important, like to make you stand out even amongst everybody who's doing all the same stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, for a long time, what were we seeing on vehicles was color blocking, nice curved line that goes to the back, accent color, mascot or icon, and logo. And that was
Hmm.
every other vehicle we saw.
Yeah.
Again, being aware of the trends, but still being okay with like pushing the limit, trying new things. Be creative. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we are able to create art. We get to see art. If you look at it in that perspective, like, we can help businesses by being creative, doing art essentially.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. What are your thoughts on mascots? I talked to somebody recently who like I really appreciate in the home services space, and he was like, I hate mascots. I think they're dumb. I think they're useless. And I had a completely different opinion than he did, and like we agreed to disagree. But I'm just curious, you who, you do this. You're constantly working with people and their brands and their wraps. What do you think about mascots?
I'm still a fan. I think they're a great way to get your message correct to your clients when done correctly. Obviously, I'm not going to be a fan of the person that just uses AI, slaps it on the side. There's a lot of like clipart stuff.
Yeah.
Any stock website full of mascot. When done correctly, and it's trying to tell the story of that brand, mascot icon. I always want to see something for the most part, and being home services, it works well. like if you were commercial, I'm going to tell you it's not a good one. If you're
Hmm.
working direct, residential, if you're working direct with people, you want that friendly face. You want that mascot, something they can remember. If you're doing commercial, we're okay telling people it's simple, it's simple to
Yeah.
that's kind of one of those things where, again, situation dictates. Know the company you're working with, know who their client is.
Hmm.
If if it makes sense, then I'm still a fan of them.
Yeah.
And then
I think. Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. All right. I'll say this. I think that um, I personally love um, any type of mascot just because I think it helps people to associate something with your brand, right? And makes it like stick in their mind. And I think if you have something that's really different, like so many people ask me all the time, they're like, why the seal? And so I can't tell you how many times that's opened up conversations with people. Um, it's stuck with people. Like I've had people pull me aside on the beach and like have a conversation with them, and then comes out that I own a painting company, and then they're like, "Oh, Seal Pro Painting." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, I saw your car, and I couldn't stop thinking about the seal." Like, so it's just I think just from that point, I know sometimes the term gets thrown around sticky in the like branding world, and I think that's what it does. It just makes your brand a little bit more sticky. So, um,
Yeah.
and sorry, you were gonna say something too.
No, I mean, if you think about at its core, what we're trying to do with branding is we want to tell a story. We want people to, as much as we can, understand who you are and
Hmm.
kind of like the seal for you. It makes sense. Like you're kind of, I guess that's the best way to explain it. Is art is telling a story. So we're trying to tell that story, get stuck in people's heads.
Yeah. I know this topic comes up too, and I'm curious to get your opinion on it. Um, can a mascot be too aggressive? Like, I know we talk about that. Do you think there's a place for it? I know, like, my opinion is like, I don't think they're good. But do you think that there's a place for mascots? Like, and let's remember, let's tailor this to home services. Do you think there's a place for that? And if so, what do you think it is? What's your opinion overall on that?
I like the opinion of everything should be friendly. It should be friendly and professional. When it comes to
Hmm.
home service specifically, you got to think of who is making decisions. There's a stat something like 80% of decisions in the home are woman. So you think about it. She's not responsible for the big muscle bound character. It's going to be the
Yeah.
friendly character. I mean, just think about how many times you hear. I
Yeah.
do it all the time. But she makes all the decisions in the house. That's her. That's her designs. It's her colors. It's her domain. I will support anything she designs. So we want to kind of target that. We want to give you the best chance of making that being remembered. That's kind of where
Hmm.
that friendly professional. That's why that works so well.
Yeah.
There are certain instances outside of home services that I think can work, but I think they're going to be very exclusive to certain industries. Just off the top of my head, if you were a metal worker,
Right.
because your target demographic is somebody that needs something metal.
Yeah. That's good. Let's kind of get into like so we've talked about design. We've talked about the colors, uh, mascots, whether you should use them or not. Um, we briefly touch on this, but before we go to the next topic, I want to just kind of get your opinion here. Um, obviously, I know what Dan's opinion is on this, and I've heard it. What information do you feel like is important for wrap? And if somebody's listening to this, are there things that you would recommend them to like not put on their wrap that you think would be unnecessary or maybe take away from it? Just kind of share really quick your professional experience and opinion on that.
Yeah, simple is good. Simple is the best. Like I said, our kind of design direction is brand first. Who you are, what you do. I know Dan's one that says phone numbers, websites. Biggest thing is don't clutter it with everything.
Yeah.
Generally, you're going to get 3 to 5 seconds. On average, people are going to be able to read 10 to 15 words in those 3 to 5 seconds. With that said, do you want them getting confused with reading all this other stuff? Or do you want them to see who you are? Because 99% of the people you're going to pass on the road do not need your service in that. But when they do, you want them Googling silver. You don't want them painting services.
Yeah. I think people have this assumption that like people are going to like walk over to their van or their trailer and they're just going to start reading it.
Yeah,
Like, oh, they do this and this and this and that and that and that. But like here's my thought on it is I don't remember those wraps. I don't remember what that company is. I might be able to remember like the image of a kitchen on the side of a van, and then oh, they do like backsplash tile, countertops, blah blah blah. But then I'll be like, wait, but what was the company? Right?
yeah,
Their brand is up in the corner that and it's like 1 foot by 1 foot, and then you see this giant kitchen and you're like, man, all I remember is the kitchen. So I think that what what you're saying is like you want people to see who you are,
yes,
right? Like and then I think like what I tried to do with Seal Pro painting is I tried to make like I have our business card here. But like I tried to make it really simple. Like people remember the seal because it's like it's this cute little seal. And then Seal Pro is like even though our full company name is Seal Pro Painting, I put painting services in black, really bold. And so like even on our wrap, I want people to see this and remember the seal, but then remember, okay, they do painting services. Now I don't have to list like we do interior painting, exterior painting, we paint doors, we paint trim, we paint baseboards, we paint crown molding, we do garage floors, we do pool decks. Like that's not what somebody's gonna read and I think remember. I want them to remember the seal and they offer painting services.
you got the right concept. Like all your vehicles look the same. You're building the recognition, and then you're also
Hmm.
opening. Someone has a painting need, and they're unsure if it's something you do. They're either going to look you up or they're going to give you a call. And that opens that conversation that gets you one step closer to the sale.
Right.
Versus listing everything that you do. And if somebody sees it, well, I need this specific thing. It's not listed on this vehicle. It's on other things. I'm not going to call it. So
Hmm.
there's negatives to it besides just being a lot. But yeah, open that conversation, build the brand recognition. One of the things I love when it's done right, one vehicle looks like five looks like 10 looks like 20. You don't notice it. There's a consciously think. You see the van, you see the vans all the time. Oh, they only have 6 vehicles. I see that same van 10 times a day, just like it's
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah. It gives this illusion of like the company is bigger and more professional than maybe you even think. And um I know I've talked to different business owners that I know and they've had that same experience or effect that um people like they'll have a conversation. Let's say they've got like 2 or 4 vehicles wrapped. They have a conversation with someone and they're like, "Oh, I see your vehicles everywhere. Like you guys must have like a huge company." It's like, "Well, we got 2 or 3 vehicles." Um but it's just that like you said, You know, people see it all the time, see it everywhere, and they just assume like there's multiple, like more than just what there is. So I think that's really powerful. Um, let's shift and talk about somebody's going to get their vehicle wrapped. I experienced this for myself, and I think it's really just any um, service in general that it's really hard as the consumer who doesn't understand like the nuances of what goes into like a specific trade. Like for example, if I hired a plumber, um, let's say one is cheaper than the other, and the other is more expensive because they're putting like, let's say, uh, pipes into my house that cost double or three times as much. But I don't know that, right? I'm not going to understand why one is cheaper than the other, and so I might just be inclined to think, oh well, they're both plumbers. This guy's just charging me more. I'm going to go with this cheaper guy. And little did I know, I just paid for the cheaper plumbing that's going to fail in 10 years sooner. So I think even from like a wrap standpoint, somebody might be going to get their wrap and they might not. I mean, I still don't know this 100%, like the difference between material that is used. Like I would assume that there's certain is everything vinyl? Is it all vinyl?
For the most part, yeah.
Well, like,
For printing, yes.
yeah, so I guess I don't know the different qualities. Like I don't know if like one is going to last longer than another. I don't know um the way that the wrap is put on, is one going to be more prone to like peeling off or whatever could happen than another way of doing it? Is there like fail points based on like how it's put on? So anyway, if you could jump into and kind of educate the listener, like they're thinking about going getting their wrap, what questions should they be asking that company that's going to wrap their vehicle so they know and can make an educated decision on like what this is, and not just base it off of price, but understand like, okay, this company's clearly offering something far superior and better than this company. Does that make sense?
Um, I wouldn't say there's too much difference. So generally, and I just tell her wrapping isn't, it's not rocket surgery. If you want a good product out there, it will be out there. You will make sure the end product is good. We have 8 certifications, I think, between myself, the shop, and my lead installer. At the end of the day, you can do the same quality. Don't think of going to a wrap shop. I guess that's where kind of like we differentiate. We're not, I always tell everyone, yeah, we can stick stickers. That's great. What you're getting from us is the thoughtfulness. We're putting that extra thought, making sure you're being recognized, you're getting leads, making sure it's an investment. You can go to any wrap shop, if you have your design, there is a market. As far as materials go, anybody can get the same materials. Biggest question to ask, hey, is it a calendar or a cast? Calendar films, great for signs, great for flat surfaces, but people try to use them on vehicles. Make sure it's a cast. Generally, three all great films. We use Oracle as our main film. Everything from our signage to our vehicle wraps. Our main final is going to be our 3751, which is 100% US made. So it's here in the US, it's 100% US materials that go into the film. Like the company as a whole, they really support the jobs like myself. So that's why we made that choice. It's a great film. It's going to last long. They have a lot of different options for us, from reflective to clear to so that's why we made that choice. Avery, another good film. Jobs it. It just came out 500 series. So anything cast is going to perform pretty close to the same. Little nuances when it comes to install, so different materials than when it comes to removal. So longer life in removal than other things, which clean removal can be cheaper when it's time to remove.
Yeah.
I try not to. I wouldn't recommend people, especially like on the commercial side, they're looking for a shop. Look at their designs. Look at what they've done previously.
Hmm.
That's where you're going to shop. Your customer isn't going to look at your vehicle. And go, oh, there's an overstretch. It's been, or there's a little failure. They're going to look at the design.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that I like look at on that I'm not like 100% happy with on my wrap, and I'm not sure if this is just like, I think every industry experiences this, even painting, like what a customer's expectation is versus like what's reality. Um, and so I think maybe like I'm like wondering like, okay, is this like a too crazy of an expectation, or is this like kind of like industry standard? But like when I open my lift gate on my SUV, and that part like where there's like the light and the like the handle for your opening your lift gate on an SUV, and all of that is under there. So like when my lift gate is down, you don't see this, but as soon as it lifts and like you're looking at it, you can see like the wrap that went under that like lift gate part, or that panel or whatever you want to call it. You can see like where it was cut, and it's like completely uneven, like it's all jagged and it's like not straight or clean. And obviously like most people aren't going to see that unless they like drive by and they see my lift gate open and they see like that really jagged unclean line, and they can see like the paint color and everything, because there's like literally that much of the paint color exposed, and the rest of it is like jagged wrap. Like, what is your opinion on that? Is that like, hey, that's kind of standard, not everybody sees it? Or is that like, hey, that's unacceptable, that should have been like wrapped to the edge and you shouldn't be able to see the paint, it should have been clean? What are your thoughts on that?
For us, clean lines are the standard. No jagged lines. We want everything to be nice. As far as showing paint color on commercial route, what is best. And again, situation is going to dictate a lot here. We use like that specific situation. Your lift gate does have a piece of plastic on it.
What was that?
Your lift gate, like where the lights are, does it have a piece of plastic there?
um I don't think so. I think it just like, on the panel, like the back lift gate, I think it just goes down and it just like, it goes under, and
Okay.
that ledge or lip underneath is where I like grab the handle to open it, and that's where the lights to my license plate are. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So,
Yes.
I mean, sounds like they cut and dropped it, and still tried to stretch it back up if it came out kind of jagged. If there's a piece of plastic there, and it's a decently new car, little things will make a difference. Even just removing that, being able to wrap it in one piece versus but yeah, generally a little bit of color showing in places. We're trying to showcase the brand. Without seeing it, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But they should be clean lines. Everything should be kind of same
Yeah.
thing goes like indoor jobs. We're not going to inside doing as far as we would with like a color job. We're trying to
Right.
specifically.
Right.
And then a lot of times, like with seams, some people have preferences on seams. We like to run big panels, so we're trying to put the seam on seam versus multiple layers. Yeah, efficient for us. We get a nice clean boat. Everything lines up. Other
Yeah,
people,
no, I think that's smart.
yeah, other people prefer vertical. And seams are going to be fun. big enough to be the size of
Right,
the
yeah.
patient.
Yeah. Not like a 8 foot wrap.
Yeah,
Um yeah, so I mean I think that but ultimately I think it's like it's clear that just in the wraps I've seen you do, because like I've seen Colton's wrap, I've seen your truck, seen some other wraps that you've done, and I think there's an attention to detail. And you know, either way, it's like when you're spending that kind of money, at least the way that I feel about it is like if I'm gonna spend that much money with you, please, like I know you may not see like from 10 feet away that, like for example, I have these back windows, like little rear windows on my SUV, and like the cuts on it are just horrendous. Like it looks like my son got in there, and I don't know what kind of razor or knife you guys use, but it's just all jagged, and like you don't see it until you're like a couple feet away from it. But for me it's just the fact that I've spent like thousands of dollars on this rack. My feeling about it is like, man, like couldn't you just like make sure that those lines were straight around there? And I'm like, I don't know if that's just me being nitpicky, but I don't feel like it would be too much to ask for thousands of dollars worth of
I
work.
don't
But
think it's nitpicky. Like those seem like very level 10 simple things that
right,
should be the same. Also, the kind of the other half of that is like we're all humans. We make mistakes sometimes. Be okay with it. Be okay with fixing something. If
yeah,
we have if we have an issue, which we do have issues, I feel like if you are perfect and do teach me.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think that's good that you mentioned that. It's like I don't necessarily expect you to be perfect, and I understand also the dynamic of like owning a company, and like maybe it was like a new hire who was training and did that. But it's like, well, don't pass it off as okay. If you need it, if you need to, like maybe it needs to be redone and done right.
Yeah,
But I would just go out and say that maybe a question that somebody should ask when they're getting their wrap done is like ask that, like, hey, do you guys guarantee that there's going to be clean lines? And if they say yes, then at least you can like hold them to that standard. If they say no, then you at least know what you're getting. But it just sucks to like spend 3 4 thousand dollars and then like you get like what you feel is like a lack of care or subpar work. So
yeah. One of the problems,
um
like in our industry, is we can make anything look good in pictures.
yeah,
You don't see all the books.
right.
Yeah, look at some of their work. Look through their Instagram, their Facebook, and find a company that you know. A lot of us business owners, we all work together. Usually, you can find a company you know and go give them a visit. Go say hi, bring them coffee, and say, "Hey, can I look at one of your vehicles?" They did.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
and then, yeah, back to the reprint thing. Like, I always, it kind of goes along with pricing, trying to get the most bang for the buck. They don't understand. Like, the shops that do charge more, they kind of get business better or understand the business side of things better, but also like we have it built in. If we make a mistake, my installer knows. He goes right to production and says, "Hey, I need to this." And they'll just reprint it.
Right.
You don't have to ask me. You don't have to get anything approved. Hey, I don't think this is up to the standard. Let's redo it.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Being okay with that. A lot of like, if your margins are so thin, you can't reprint something. Then you do have a small mistake like that, it's not going to get made right for the people.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so here's I want to kind of bring us to a close here. This is the last thing that I want to go over with you, and then we can kind of bring this to a close. And goodness, I just lost my train of thought. I was like, I had this one thing I wanted to go over with you, and I completely just lost what it was. Let me try and So we talked about the
While you're thinking of that, I
questions.
did just think of something kind of back from what people should look for. Look at the
Yeah.
manufacturers' websites, like Avery, 3M, Oracle, KPF, Arlon. They all have a list of installers that are certified by them.
Hmm.
They have proved to the manufacturer that they can uphold the standard. And that's where you're going to see a more standardized better solution. Look at those maps. Go to 3M and see who's in the area. See who's in the area. Go to those
Okay.
websites. You'll be able to see people that have taken classes, took the time to pass the test. The manufacturer said, hey, they can install it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Um, so here was, I remember what I was going to ask. I was going to ask this because I think this was a big, so kind of want to give some background to the listeners. I had all of my wraps done. So I think I had already wrapped like 4 or 5 vehicles with this other company, and then you and I met, and I had just purchased it. I think like 2 other vehicles. And I had no, I had purchased one, and I still had another. I think it was a truck to wrap, and I got a quote from you, and it was a little bit more than this company that I had used in the past. One of the things that you brought up on why there was a price difference um, was the fact that like you when somebody comes to you guys for the design and the install, that you actually, the person who is getting the design done is purchasing the art and the design from you, right? That intellectual property. If you could, for the listener, go into, from your perspective, right? You're in the design world, the art world. I know a little bit from like what I learned about when I was younger. When I was a marketing director for a while, so I remember some of this. You obviously you this is like what you do. So bring perspective to the listener on the importance of owning your artwork, making sure that it's original, and then being able to like reuse it, right? So if you could just talk to the listener about that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, so like you said, we charge for our work. A lot of wrap shops, they will say, hey, we're giving you the artwork. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, we don't need to hold anything hostage. We know, hey, this is yours. We want to set you up to be able to use everything across the board. And on top of just the artwork we create for you, you get all of that. Also, we're going to create 3D mockups of your vehicles. That way you can use those because services, that's what people see as your vehicles. We'll we even have a write up that kind of describes like, hey, put these in on the website, put these on your market, make that vehicle recognizable to everyone.
Hmm.
But one of the downsides of like our industry is people will say, hey, it's free. And then if you have that experience, oh, well, you owe us money because that's our, you didn't pay. We just get ahead of time. We know you're going to come back. We do a good job. We know we don't have to hold anything else. Hey, we're going to do this work for you. We're going to charge you for the work. We're going to give you the work. It seems very
Yeah.
straightforward. That's how it should be. So that's how we help.
Yeah.
Again, we kind of just encourage, give you some ideas like, hey, here's what you want to do with this. You want to grow your business cards. You want everything to match across the
Yeah. And I do just want to add this because I think there is a reality that some business owners, like, they may want to use that artwork and use a different vendor in the future. Like maybe it's not even just like maybe even it's not wraps. Maybe they're like, hey Anthony, I really love your company. You'll always do our wraps, but I want to have this other company do like all of our t-shirts, our hats, and like all of this stuff over here. But now you get into this position where it's like, hey, I need the raw files or the artwork. And then you might be in this situation with that person who like also offers that maybe it's not their main service, but it's a service they offer, and then they're holding you hostage, like, hey, well, you're gonna have to pay us for that art if you want the files so that you can take it and use it somewhere else. And so yeah, I think that's an important thing too, to like be able to make sure that like you own your brand, you own that art and pay for it, right?
And then
And like
another
in
part of
hind
that, if you're not
Yeah,
paying for the work we're doing on the design side, what is our motivation to spend more time on it? Like, if I'm
right.
only getting paid for the physical product, most likely that's their stock website, pull a bunch of stuff, and call it a day. We're going to try and get that to say, oh, what do you want? Okay, perfect. We're going to do that. We'll tell people, most people don't find it rude. Most people understand, like, hey, we're coming from a perspective of, hey, we know what we're doing. But we will tell people, like, hey, we shouldn't do that. Look at this.
Yeah,
Let's kind of go. I always tell people a selfish reason. We do our job right on the design side. It's gonna help you grow. You're gonna get more vehicles. You're gonna send it back to us. So
yeah.
we want to do everything on our side to make sure
Yeah. I don't know if this is a liability thing. You could probably speak to this better than I could. I'm just assuming. Is there, do you know, like, let's say someone goes to someone and gets like a wrap done and they say, yeah, we designed this art for you, but you don't know that, like, let's say they went on like Canva or um online, like, I don't know, however
stock
people would
websites,
do this.
Shutterstock.
Yeah, like and pulled like a stock image or something like that. Is there any way, like, if that person like didn't actually like design and create that art themselves, like in, let's say, Adobe Illustrator or whatnot, they didn't design that themselves, could that company uh be liable or opening themselves up to like a situation where they could, l- lose their brand because they used something that was like pulled from a stock image? How does that work in like the design
Not
world? And
necessarily. And just to be clear, like stock images have rights. We use them for
right,
brushes are great, fonts are great, but it they are purchased images. So they can be used. They cannot be trademarked. And even there's like this weird gray area when it comes to fonts specifically, which that kind of goes on. Yeah, you're not going to be able to get something off a stock website and trade.
got it.
Easiest way to
And
tell is do a Google reverse. Like if you have a mascot and you think someone just pulled someone else's artwork, do a reverse image search on Google. It'll pull up probably two or three different stock websites. A lot of times you'll see the same images.
is now sorry, because you brought it up, I want you to like make, I don't know if you can, but if you can kind of elaborate on this. Would that be a deciding factor? Like you talked about trademarking, like how important is that? I know it's something that I'm interested in eventually doing for my business, like getting our brand trademarked. But like, why would that be an issue, and why should like somebody care about that?
Because at the end of the day, when you're purchasing it, you're purchasing a license to use it, you're not purchasing ownership. So if we buy something off of Shutterstock, we have purchased the right to just use it. And there are
Hmm.
limitations to that. So there's licenses for certain amounts of uses, certain uses. A lot of times people don't pay attention to that, but you're
Yeah.
not actually purchasing the ownership. But also at the same time, a million other people can use the same exact thing. So you're
Right.
not going to be able to. And I'm not a trademark lawyer. I don't know enough about it. I know the basics. You can't take someone else's image and trademark it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think the reason why trademarking is important is from like the standpoint of like protecting your brand.
Yes.
Um right. So like if you're not trademarked, somebody could use your brand or like use like its likeness And then one that takes away from your brand equity. And I think like to me, brand equity is like the saturation of like your brand in the market and how much attention that has and is directed at your business, right? Whereas if you have somebody who's using its likeness and they're kind of like taking away from that in a sense. But I think also it's like a protecting the brand's integrity, right? So like if you've built a brand and your brand is not just the image, it's like what how it makes people feel, what people believe about you, your service, like those emotions and that psychology that happens when people think about like this image. And if you have like someone who has tarnished that image because you didn't have it protected by like a trademark, well, I think you're like that's another way that you protect yourself is protecting yourself from those kind of things happening. um,
Yeah, and there still are like some minimal protections for you, but at the end of the day, like if you're looking to grow outside of just being a local service, then it's
yeah,
definitely something to look into. Speak to, like I said, I know the basics. Speak to a lawyer, kind of go down that route. I know that if I create something specific for you, it's drawn for you, it's yours. The best advice is to protect it. You're going to pay for
yeah.
it. You should protect
Yeah, that's good. At the end of the day, I think that this is really like if you're looking at building something that is significant, you're looking at trying to like have a business that's not just like you and a couple guys, but you're building a significant size business, significant um, reach, and all of that. I think that these are topics that you need to entertain, just from protecting yourself and protecting the thing that you've worked so hard to build. So. Anthony, I really appreciate your time and just your expertise that you brought to this episode. I hope that the listeners have found it helpful. Um, and if they're looking at getting a wrap, maybe they'll listen to this and make a more informed decision on what they're going to do with their branding and their wrap. I like to, when I have a guest, open up the floor for you to just talk about anything here in the closing that maybe there's something you feel like you really wanted to mention or talk about. Maybe there's something we didn't cover in this conversation. I just want to open it up for you to like share any last words or last thoughts.
I think we covered just about everything. I guess the biggest thing, everyone just do your research. When it comes to the vehicle wrap side, it's still a very young industry. How much of an impact it can have on your business, just do that research. Talk to friends. Look at the people they've worked with. Talk to those specifically. Make informed decisions. A lot of people can give us a great name about the work they do. The designers we spoke about, fortitude, give us a bad name. Doing bad installs, giving people a taste about what wraps can be.
Hmm. That's really good. Well, if somebody wanted to reach out to Florida Vehicle Wraps to get any type of work done, or maybe that's from the design standpoint, or maybe they're local here to this market, um, how could they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can find us on all the social media at Florida Vehicle Wraps. You can email us directly, hello@flvehiclewraps.com, as well as check out our website, flvehiclewraps.com. Uh, Anyone that wants to work with us, we have many capabilities besides just the phone. We do have a network. We can help facilitate an install. We can do design and print for you. Or if you just want somebody to look over your branding, please feel free to reach out. Design stuff, so we'll look over, give you some suggestions. Even if you don't want to work with us, we'd be happy to kind of just steer you in the right direction.
Awesome. Well, I would definitely recommend you reach out to Anthony. As I mentioned, he's in my BNI, and so I have the opportunity to hear him speak about what he does every week. And he's given presentations on what they do, the services that they offer, and I can just tell. And even from other business owners that I know that have used them, they do really great quality work and they really care about what they're doing. So if you're in the market to get a wrap done, or some design work, reach out to Anthony. I think you'll be really happy that you did. And as always, if you've listened to this episode and you have found it helpful, if you're listening on any major podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, and the list goes on, please rate and review the show. Share it with somebody else so that they can benefit from the same information you have. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like this video, share it with somebody, leave a comment, give your thoughts and feedback, and subscribe to the channel. And if you need any resources for getting off the ladder and systematizing your business, check the show notes below. I do have some resources for you there. And again, if you use those, please use my affiliate links because I do get credit for those, which helps to support the Off the Ladder podcast and keep doing what we're doing here. I hope you found this helpful, and hopefully we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Off the Ladder podcast.